You are now listening to Darker Than Blue on WPFW Pacifica Radio 89.3 FM here in Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Sean Blackman, here with Jackie Lukman,
Hey.
and we are your number one source for struggle, socialism, and soul.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And of course, today is Friday, May 24th, 2024. How you feeling, Jackie? It's a nice day today here in DC.
It is a nice day, but it's on the hot side. See, you live in DC, you've got to complain about the weather. It doesn't matter how great the weather is. You have to complain about the weather because it is kind of unpredictable, the weather in DC. So, and people who are not from here, they're confused about when spring actually begins. Well, yeah, that's DC for you. And then they'll start in about a month, they'll start complaining about how incredibly hot and steamy and sticky and disgusting it is in DC. Yeah. That's DC for you. So, I'm just rolling with the temperature flow here. I'm just preparing for a summer of demonstrations in a lot of heat and sweltering. But yeah. So how are you?
I'm good. I have to agree. Even as a Floridian, I continue to be struck by the intensity of DC summers. I mean, the heat here is just brutal, and of course, the the reality of climate change sort of intensifies that whole issue, I think. And you're right, because I mean, right about now, I would say it's about as nice as it's probably going to get in DC before it's the summer proper. Although I have to say, summer always my favorite season, always willing to stick out that heat. But Jackie, just today there are reports that the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, ordered Israel to halt its military assault on Rafah immediately. Of course, Rafah, this is the city in southern Gaza where more than 1 million people, 1 million Palestinians have sought refuge. And this was a place that was basically framed as a safe place, a place for people to escape to. And at this point, I feel like I should also point out that many of the people there have already been displaced more than one time before. And so we're talking about a situation where about 1 million people are trapped. And there really is nowhere else for them to go. And so the ICJ, it doesn't have the power to actually enforce this ruling, but I think it does increase the pressure on Israel in a way that we haven't seen in some time. And I think that's very relevant as, Israel continues to dig in its heels and continues to face condemnation from literally all around the world, from governments, from international institutions. I mean, from, activists and organizers on the streets in a lot of these countries as well. I mean, Israel is becoming increasingly isolated, which also poses a danger for Israel's sponsors in Washington. Understanding that Israel is an outpost of U.S. imperialist interests in the Middle East region. And so if Israel loses its footing, then that means that the U.S. loses its footing in the very geostrategically and also, I guess, financially lucrative and important Middle Eastern region. You know what I mean? And so that's the sort of view that I think we should take when we view these sorts of developments. I think sometimes people can be cynical in looking at some of these things, but I think it's all part and parcel of sort of undermining the Zionist project in a number of ways. And of course, that's directly connected to what we're seeing here in the United States as, student protests continue. We continue to see different demonstrations and protests at graduation ceremonies, students in different ways getting in trouble, having their degrees threatened and all those sorts of things. And this is on top of an already ongoing issue of, doxing of students and trying to get them fired or basically trying to ruin their future prospects for jobs and things like that. And so, as ever, I feel like I have to point out that, the only reason why there has been this kind of attack on the student movement in the United States is because it has been effective. It has continued to subvert the narrative and the lies put forth by the U.S. government, by the school administrations, and by the corporate-owned press. I mean, they've exposed all of this. I mean, when we see images, like I think it was at UCLA, with police, shooting rubber bullets at students and demonstrators. I mean, these are things that can cause a serious harm. You know what I mean? I mean, here in Washington, D.C., with the encampment at George Washington's University, I mean, that encampment was raided at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
What kind of institution feels like it's necessary to attack a bunch of sleeping college kids in the wee hours of the morning from a group of young people that pose no threat to anyone, no physical threat, I should say.
Right.
No one's safety is threatened by these students. I think it's more so the sort of stature, if you will, of a lot of these institutions who have these ties to Israel in a number of ways. That is obviously the concern. And, I happened to be there in DC a couple of weeks ago when the GW encampment was reestablished on a different street. And so even as we get close to the summer here, it seems as we continue to see this bravery and this really great work in organizing being done by all of these students, Jackie. And what I think is noteworthy, and I have to say, this is something that I find very annoying when we're talking about Palestine and there are people who pop up and say, oh, well, why aren't you talking about Haiti? Why aren't you talking about the Congo? Why aren't you talking about the Sudan? Why aren't you talking about this or that issue? And it really irritates me because it's done in this very dishonest way. Because, certainly here in DC, Jackie, we all, these connections between Palestine and these other struggles are made all the time.
All the time. Yep.
And I also got to say, there have been demonstrations for the Congo, the Sudan, and Haiti, at least here in the DC area. And it's like I never see any of those people there. It's just so wild to think about how people will really use their energy to complain about what they think someone isn't doing instead of using their resources to just do whatever it is they think needs to be done. It's just this odd thing of people refusing to take responsibility for the issues that they claim to care about and prefer to make excuses for their own laziness. But this gets us nowhere, you know what I mean? But the whole reason I bring that up is because I wanted to raise this deeper issue of how the students this way that the students have been connecting Palestine to these other anti-colonial and anti-imperial struggles. And I'm happy to see that Comrade Kamathi also feels passionately about this, but I'm just curious your thoughts, Jackie.
I apologize for the enthusiasm of my fur baby comrade Kamathi's anger at imperialism. I'm training him well. He's a dog that will bite imperialism whenever he's commanded to. Just this time, he preempted the command to bite imperial. He just heard the word, lost his mind, but he's on the right track. But Sean, I've been looking at these protests that have been happening at the college graduations. And we're not talking about one isolated incident of, a handful of students at some small college or university campuses across the country. No, we're talking about massive walkouts of dozens of students, in some cases, probably a couple hundred students, literally walking out of their graduation ceremonies. These kids have their gowns on, they've got their caps on. The fantastic thing about it, Sean, is that these students have used the occasion of their graduation to continue to raise not just the issue of Palestinian liberation, but to raise the issue that you just spoke about, the oppression, the repression against them from their own universities. So at Harvard, I believe it was, that there were 13 students that Harvard University disciplined or punished for participating in the pro-Palestine, anti-genocide protests. And Harvard University had decided to deny or withhold those 13 students their diplomas. And there was a massive walkout of other students at Harvard's graduation, and they were chanting, "Let them walk." And this was not just students in the graduation, it was also faculty members demanding that Harvard University let the 13 students who were denied their diplomas walk. Virginia State University, or no, it was VCU, I believe, that dozens of students walked out in the middle of their graduation. This is happening all across the country, in which students, some of them may have participated in the encampments on their college campuses before graduation. Some may not have, but all of the protests in graduations have been carried out by students who have the Palestinian flag on their mortarboards. They're either, hiding their keffiyehs underneath their robes so they won't be confiscated when they walk across the stage. There was one protest that didn't mark the university, but I thought it was so ingenious that the students carried on the protest amid more threats from the university of punishments. So as they were walking across the stage and they know that they were being filmed, they took their cell phones and they had images with messages to the faculty of the school they were graduating from about the struggle against Palestine. Things like, "You don't listen to your students." As the student is receiving his diploma, he's holding up his phone to the camera, showing the administration, "This is what you all have done." Messages like "divest from Israeli arms," or, you stop sending money to Israel. So even as the encampments are probably not getting as much press in the media because it's graduation season, it's summertime, and they're hoping these kids would go away, I think the graduation protests have proven that not only are these kids not going away, not only are they not going to stop their anti-genocide activities, and good on them for not, but I think the repression that these students received from their colleges and universities is what pushed many of them to do what the universities didn't want them to do: keep protesting. And now the students have used the graduations themselves as a theater of protest. And I think it's fantastic strategy. I'm proud of these kids. They're inspirational. And the thing is, Sean, that if we don't pick up the spark that these kids have lit, then if this fails, if this effort fails, if it fizzles out and no progress is made, then I think I can confidently say it would be our fault if we did not pick up this spark that these kids have lit all across this country, not just for liberation of Palestinians, but as we pointed out, they have been holding teach-ins on their campuses, films that GW showed the Battle of Algiers. Outside at the encampment, they were doing teach-ins, they had a library. This has been the reality across campuses across this country. And the students, I believe, are going to be all right. The kids are all right. My question is, are we going to be?
Yeah. I mean, that really is the question. And what I've been so impressed with the student movement, and really with the sort of broader solidarity movement with Palestine in general here in the United States, is the care with which organizers take to really ask themselves difficult questions and be honest with themselves about sort of where the movement is, where it should move from here. What have we been doing? What has worked? What hasn't? What have we done well? Where could we possibly do better? And things like this. And I mean, right now, as we speak, the People's Conference for Palestine is happening in Detroit, Michigan. And I actually think it says a lot about the capacity of our movement that there continue to be protests despite these police crackdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And despite those attacks being facilitated by university administrations with the support of some of the most powerful people in this country, up to and including the president.
Mm-hmm.
Despite all of that, the protests continue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have all of that going on. And we also have the capacity to have this really important conference where we try to plot the trajectory of the movement moving forward. You know what I mean? And so I think that this evidences a thoughtful movement, a movement that takes itself seriously, a movement that takes its work seriously, and seems to be on track to become more organized instead of less organized, which can sometimes happen within social movements, you know, depending on certain circumstances. And so I think it paints a favorable picture for things to come. Of course, we don't know what the future holds. We don't have a crystal ball, Jackie, and we don't know, you know, how things ultimately will end up either here in the U.S. or in Gaza itself. But I think what's clear is that the solidarity movement for Palestine in the U.S. and around the world has shown its strength, has shown its vitality, and has shown its ability to continue to operate and be viable despite all these attacks.
Yeah, absolutely true. Oh, oops, forgot I was muted there because of Mr. Kimathi in the back. He's fine now. But you know what? This is such an incredible moment historically, I think, in the history of labor struggle. And on the one hand, Sean, it's very intimidating. It's a little bit overwhelming to realize that is very true. We are in an incredibly important historic moment, and there's in your mind, if you're an organizer, well, in my mind, there's all this pressure like on myself to like, okay, no mistakes, no missteps, you got to get this right, you got to be on point, and you know, you got to be ready, you know, stay ready, you won't have to get ready, you know, that kind of stuff. But the reality is, organizing is a science. It is not easy, but it's also not like the most complex thing in the world, as these college students, I think, have shown us very well the way that across the country they were able to coordinate their activities so that you saw the same things happening in these encampments. And yes, that was absolutely planned. That's what organization is. You agree that you're all going to work toward a particular goal, and then you agree on how you're going to work toward it. And then you carry that out as an organization, as a formation of people. And, you know, that is both in this historical moment for me, that's both overwhelming that, wow, you know, I'm carrying on this amazing tradition of education for liberation, education toward liberation, right? But there's still a lot of work to be done, and we get to do that work. So that's why I'm really proud of the show that we have always done, but I'm especially proud that we're able to do it now on WPFW. Because for 47 years, WPFW has been kind of the education for liberation station in Washington, D.C. I grew up listening to WPFW for at least, you know, 40 of those 47 years, having transitioned from WOL and PD Green and all of those people. And then here, you know, I find WPFW and it's like, it's you know, these radical Africans that I'm learning, and, you know, radical the anti-imperialist and capitalist. So we get to carry on that tradition personally, like individually as organizers, but also as contributors to this great station. And I'm happy to be joined. We're happy to be joined by WPFW's own Katia Stitt. And she's visiting us today because, hey, guess what? We're in pledge drive, y'all. And we certainly have to continue to support this station. And Darker Than Blue has a $600 pledge goal. And surely we can clear that, people. Surely we can do that. Katia, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jackie and Sean. It's great to see both of you. And Sean, I get to see a little more, at the protest when he's speaking. So
Mhm.
I haven't made my way. Sometimes it's hard to make your way. There are thousands of people out, but I just really admire what you all do. And we're thrilled to have you all here at WPFW. Darker Than Blue is so aligned with the mission of WPFW. And you all certainly stand on the shoulders of folks like, you know, um, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and Dorothy Healy and Ambrose Lane Sr. and so many. I'm thinking of Jesse McDade Bay. I don't know. You said you listened back in the day. He was
Yep.
certainly, yes, he was one of the greats. And so to have you all continue in that tradition and bring all that you all do off the air onto our airwaves is an honor and a privilege. And talk about education for liberation. Darker Than Blue does that. So $600 goal. We can do this together, folks. I've seen that people have been supporting the show. They love it. They're listening. They're taking the information in. So I'm going to ask everyone within the sound of our voices then to give back to us, to pour into us now, to be in solidarity with Sean and Jackie and Darker Than Blue. The number to call is 800-222-9739. We only have $600 to go this hour. We can do it together. I know you both have heard us asking for new members because we think, especially in this time of struggle, right? There are people that are literally learning about the station every single day. I'm sure you're encountering people as you do your work, right? In this space of resistance. They're like, we had no idea there was a station that was talking about Palestine so much, or talking about the Congo or Haiti or Sudan or, Montgomery County or whatever, wherever we are, wherever struggle is. And it's a beautiful thing. For me, I light up when people say, I didn't know, but now I'm onto it. And I'm sure there are many people that have been listening to Darker Than Blue. I know there are many people that followed you over from your previous station to here. So I'm going to implore those people, challenge those people to make that call that makes a difference. If you've loved what Jackie and Sean have been doing long before PFW, now they're with us. And we ask you to come on and become a full-fledged member of the family. 800-222-9739, WPFWFM.org, $600 to go. This is the kind of program that we bring you with your dollars. You make everything here possible. And Jackie and Shauna, I can't say that enough about people because I don't think they really get it, that. And sadly, this country has not trained them in the ways of really public media and what that means to support.
Exactly.
Just like they haven't really trained us in what it means to support liberation, true liberation. So it is also a liberatory act to celebrate and support independent media, beholden to only you, the listener. You're our shareholders. 800-222-9739, $600 to go. You can go online to WPFWFM.org. Now, I just want to sit back and listen to y'all, do your thing a little bit more, and then I'll join.
Listen to us chop it up like we always.
Exactly. I love it. But I'll join you. I'll rejoin you a little bit later if that's cool.
Absolutely. Always cool. Thank you so much. And see, Sean, that's the thing I think people don't get about us, about organizers, I think in general, and particularly about our show, what we've done. Because I would get people all the time over at the other place that we still kind of can't name, but over at the other place, and people would ask, do you and Sean like script what you say? And I'm just like, no, we're both organizers. And at first when people would ask me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Script what we say. What do you like? Do we have a whole script where we say that? And then I realized, no, they really meant like, do we have a script where we literally read off the script everything that we say during the show? And I'm like, no, I can't. First of all, I couldn't have gotten up any earlier to do that as opposed to everything else I was doing, right? And then just the thought of not having like an organic conversation about what I do every day, that was just weird to me. I talk about what I do every day because it's what I do and I love it. I love organizing. And I love organizing because I love our people. But we're able to do what we do because I think you feel the same way, and we just happen to be comrades too. So
yeah, that definitely helps. And I think what people are responding to when they ask, Because when they ask, well, is it scripted? What they're really saying is, well, how do you all do such like high quality work so consistently? And I think in reality, there's no substitute for having that passion for the work, but that passion for media work grows directly out of the passion for organizing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what, you and I have always sought to do with our work. And so this whole concept of education for liberation, I think, really resonates with us and just how we've always sort of operated. Because, at a certain point, I considered our shows to be political education platforms in and of themselves. Now, yeah, sometimes we're on there just kind of chilling, talking about music or movies or The Sopranos or
Wrestling,
whatever. But
wrestling,
even still, you know what I'm saying?
or wrestling or country rap.
That without question has always been a big motivation. And when we say political education or popular education, we don't just mean that for the sake of an intellectual exercise.
Right.
The whole point has always been to actively encourage people to join organizations and become a part of social movements.
Mm-hmm.
This has always been the driving point of what we do. And to this day, I have people that, they reach out to me. Sometimes they see me out in public and they tell me that they got involved with something because of our work, or they joined an organization because of what they heard from our work. Because we were saying this like literally every day: join an organization, join the movement.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
For like for 3 years for me, and for longer for you.
Yeah, it was like 6 years for me.
Jeez.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years, and so just being a part of that kind of independent media tradition. It's something that I've always really appreciated. I mean, Katia was just talking about Jesse McDade Bay. I was actually at the encampment at George Washington University, and this older gentleman comes up to me and he starts talking. He's familiar with the show, actually. And he starts telling me about Jesse McDade Bay, who I wasn't really familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts breaking down a lot of that history as well. And I mean, we can talk about shows like It Is with Gil Noble, or my personal favorite, Soul, with DC's own Ellis.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so there's this, and I forgot to mention that I've actually been listening to WPFW since before I even moved to DC.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think of it as such, but I found out about it through a couple of brothers that I happen to know. And it was just really cool to find this radio station that had this combination of music and poetry and culture and Black history and radical politics, this whole concept of jazz and justice, you know what I'm saying, as we know it. I didn't know that was something I didn't know all of that could exist in one place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And in continuum. And it's actually a part of what attracted me to move to DC as well.
Oh, wow.
And so, what we do, I think, has a lot of substance in that way. And again, is why I hope that folks, who appreciate what we do here on Dark and Blue will help out with our fund drive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. I'm just thinking about Soul, because you just mentioned the show Soul, and I remember watching it when it first aired, and I remember my mom saying something like, "Well, this isn't going to last long because this is just too good, right, for network television." And there's a great documentary on that show, Soul, too. That it's got to be on YouTube, and I do think it's just called Soul. Basically what happened to that show, and it's fantastic. And the discussions that I've heard on the show, not just from like the political or on the network on WPFW, not just like the specifically political shows, but even shows like DJ Bobby Rocks, who I love. Like, I would be driving from the job And I would turn on DJ Bobby Rocks so I could not be so stressed out driving in traffic coming home. But then I noticed that in between having, great music, dance music, club music, house, soul, R&B, funk, all the good stuff. He's also got fantastic discussions about political issues, family court issues, stuff that people don't talk a lot about. And I think that's also the draw for me in what we do, because I don't like to assume people are aware of what is really going on in the world, in this city. I don't assume that people know what capitalism really means. Like, I assume that people just generally think of capitalism as trade or commerce and don't understand that it's a whole nother beast, right? And people don't understand what imperialism is or how any of these things are connected. So for me, that always gives me a springboard, not assuming that people know this stuff. That's the springboard for us, providing the political education about these issues and then connecting them to the issues that we know people domestically face, because we face them, right? And that is what we have done since we've been a duo together, and that's what we'll continue to do. And we really hope that people enjoy and appreciate and look forward to hearing what else we're going to talk about in the next show, the next week, the next Darker Than Blue, because there's always stuff going on. The empire is a mess. We're at the flames stage of the empire burning, I think. It's fighting back. And in the meantime, people have to be educated on the fact that there is hope for after the empire falls. And that hope lies with us. And that power is in the organization of a people who want change. So please support this show, Darker Than Blue, on WPFW. Support this station, 202-588-9739 or 1-800-222-9739. We are looking for new sustainers. You can pledge any amount and you can pay that amount over a 12-month period. You can spread it out. That's what sustainer means, that you're contributing to WPFW and to this show however much you said you would pledge at the beginning, but you're paying for it over a year. $40, $20, $60, $100, anything will help us reach this $600 goal for this hour. It's 5:32. We've got a little under 27 minutes left. We can definitely make that $600 goal in 27 minutes. If folks would call 202-588-9739 or 1-800-222-9739 and support us here at Darker Than Blue at WPFW with whatever you can.
And Jackie, and Sean, could I just jump in here?
Absolutely.
You all mentioned so much in that last segment. So regarding soul, we're doing a whole day on Monday, Memorial Day, we're doing Stevie Wonder, right? And we are going to be playing this rare episode of soul called Wonder Love. So I'm not going to tell people when it's going to air in the day, which means you should just listen to the entire day from 5 until midnight. It'll be all about Stevie. But we also know Stevie is a revolutionary force, at the forefront of making sure that the King holiday happened, at the forefront. One of the people, there were many, 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 and many whose names we do not know, but certainly he was one that was vigilant about apartheid falling in South Africa. We'll be lifting up that Stevie on Monday. And in addition to the party Stevie, the love Stevie, all of it. But then on Wednesday, you all are participating in an amazing programming day where we're partnering with Friends of the Congo, because like you, I get the same thing, Sean, like, well, you're all about Palestine, but what about these people over here? What about the Black people? What about this? And first of all, I'm like, well, it's a collective liberation thing, just as you say, right? If they're not free, I'm not free. My brothers and sisters other places aren't free. So we'll be making those connections. In fact, this show will be very specifically making those connections between the Congo and Palestine on Wednesday. We'll be talking all about what it really looks like to be anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, and how these things are fueling the Congo. We'll be talking about the e-revolution or the green revolution on the backs of Black bodies and the dissemination of Black, not I'm going too fast. I'm getting my words. The decimation of Black life. You know, we'll be talking about the beautiful women's center that's on, they're building on the ground for women living in refugee camps, helping to empower them, helping to change the paradigm. Even though this is your condition, this is not who you are. So we'll be unpacking all of that. And I just use that as an example of an extension of what Darker Than Blue does. Darker Than Blue has covered all of this, you know, and continues to cover it. And I am astounded that the two of you are just so brilliant that the conversation just flows. I mean, this is something to watch, I have to say. And I also want to let the listener know that this is exactly why you tune in, because of this brilliance, this knowledge. You know, that's why you listen, because you can't get this anywhere else. And we don't want you to get it anywhere else. We want you to be in solidarity with us. We haven't moved the needle yet. We still need $600. Won't you get us started? I know there's someone within the sound of our voices right now who could pledge $50 a month, and that would be the goal. We'd be done. $50 a month for 12 months, the $600 is done. But, you know, if you have $5, let's do that. $500, let's do that. $5,000, you know, become a major donor. We'd love that. Whatever you have, whatever fits in your budget, and whatever is in your heart that moves you to support a really, truly liberatory medium. You know, we always say that freedom is not free. It is costly, but it is vital to the world that we want to inhabit. And so 800-222-9739, Darker Than Blue helps you with creating that world you want to inhabit, because they give you the tools, they give you the knowledge, and knowledge is power. So please support Sean and Jackie now in the great work they do. 800-222-9739 or WPFWFM.org.
Absolutely. And we do have to ring the bell for someone from the Anonymous family. That is a generous family, the Anonymous family. It's a huge family too. Thank you so much, in Anonymous in Mount Airy. Thank you again. Oh, we've got another Anonymous, but we're going to call them I Love WPFW, because that's what they put on their in their little tagline in the note line. Anonymous from Silver Spring. Thank you. Thank you so much. Those two pledges have taken us down to $310. Come on, y'all. We can do this. 5 a month, 10 a month, 15 a month, 20 a month. Support Darker Than Blue here on WPFW. Keep us on this station, giving you the information that you need to indeed participate in the liberation struggles for yourself, for your children, grandchildren, for generations to come, 7 generations. This is what we're working for, the liberation of not just ourselves, but of our progeny, of our descendants, of your descendants, of everyone 7 generations from now, so that we don't have to have these kinds of fights anymore. Now, when we win, and I do believe we will win, Sean, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think we'd win. When we win, we will have to defend our revolution. But that's okay. We have great examples for how that's done, don't we, Sean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to thank Katia for her kind words about us and our work. And Jackie, I wanted to swing back around to the question of Haiti specifically. Within our broader conversation here, and talk some about this transitional council. Now, in recent weeks, we talked to Dr. Jemima Pierre about just this issue, and we actually know some things now about just who will make up this council, which is unelected, as I think we should keep pointing out, and has some direct ties to pro-imperialist institutions. And so, I mean, it includes people like Smith Augustin. This is the former ambassador to the Dominican Republic. Louis Gerald Giles, who's a former senator, who's also a member of the council. And this is someone who's still associated with Dr. Ariel Henry, the outgoing unelected prime minister of Haiti. There's Fritz Alphonse Jean, who's an economist, he's also the president of the Haitian Institute of Public Policies, has also been a top official in the central bank. Edgar LeBlanc Fields, who used to lead the Haitian Senate. There's a Laurent St. Cyr, who's the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Haiti, also an insurance company executive. You know, I mean, there are people who, people like Regine Abraham, who are involved in this, who really rose to prominence following the embezzlement scandal with the Petre Carib funds, all these sorts of things, people with connections to the World Bank and the European Union. And I mean, it's just so transparent why this council and the sort of related bodies to it are made up of these sort of obviously handpicked people who have proximities to these institutions and to these former comprador administrations in Haiti, Jackie. I mean, it's very clearly a way for U.S. imperialism to maintain its control over Haiti, and also for you know, Europe and some of these other powers to you know, maintain that control of Haiti as well. Of course, you know, much of this coming from Washington, and I think there's a direct connection there when we try to connect, you know, Haiti to Palestine, because this whole process of the transitional council and this proposed invasion of Haiti by Kenya, because, you know, the U.S. and the Western powers don't want it to make it look quite as bad, so they figured having a black army do it would be better. And all of these sorts of things, you know what I mean? But this was a completely undemocratic thing. The people of Haiti were not consulted. Matter of fact, the Haitian people have continued to be suppressed for speaking out against interference in their country. And it's just like how, you know, in Palestine, you have a situation of a colonized and displaced people who have been the victims of ethnic cleansing, who have been forced from their lands, forced from their villages, forced from their homes, and all of these sorts of things. And for whose benefit? Ultimately, for the benefit of the imperialist ruling class, for the benefit of the capitalists who maintain their power through supporting Israel, who maintain their power through exploiting global South countries like Haiti. You know what I mean? And so this is a big part of what we mean when we talk about how these different struggles are related. It doesn't mean they look precisely the same in every conceivable way. You know what I mean? The point is that all of this suffering, all this exploitation, all this oppression, this out and out genocide that's been happening against Palestine for 76 years, this punishment of Haiti that's been going on for centuries, is all part and parcel of this attempt at maintaining imperialist control. You know what I mean? And so even though Palestine is in what we call the Middle East, and even though Haiti is in the Caribbean, ultimately their fates are tied because of the overarching reality of a dying imperialism. And that goes for the Congo, that goes for the Sudan, that goes for Puerto Rico, and all of these different struggles that we could name. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think it's just a good reminder of why having internationalist politics is so important, because while whatever a country your focus is on may be important, it helps us see that there's a broader network of these issues that they come to fore, which tells us something about how we should organize if we really want to overturn this thing once and for all.
Exactly true. Oh yeah, just want to make sure that I unmuted myself because I always forget. Exactly true. And people think, you know, the other thing people think, Sean, that I think is funny is that they think we never make mistakes. like they're like, how are you all so perfect online? Oh, you don't even understand. And half the time we make mistakes too. It's just you don't know their mistakes. We do, and we just like keep going. But that is the beauty of live radio, live, you know, video. We're just real people, but we're real people focusing on real problems, trying to empower other people, other regular people, to convince them that this is your fight too. You should be in this fight too. And yes, you can do something. We know you feel powerless, but the system cannot, it's not omnipresent. It's not insurmountable. The divine, what do we say all the time, Sean? The divine right of kings. People thought that would last forever. People thought slavery would last forever. Here we are. I know that the empire is trying to resuscitate the divine right of kings, but it was the people who defeated that principle. And it was the people, the enslaved people in particular, with some help from the abolitionists who ended slavery. That wasn't Abraham Lincoln. He did not free the slaves. The enslaved freed themselves. So we are looking at ourselves as the descendants of the people who fought slavery, colonialism, settler colonialism, and won, telling you, the other descendants, that you can fight too. You are empowered to do this. It's in your DNA. It's a part of your ancestry. And if you are a person who loves freedom and liberation and true, real democracy for all people, then you can be in this fight too. You should be in this fight too. This is what we talk about on this show every week. It's what we talked about every day. It's what we do when we leave here, before we came here. This is who we are. And we appreciate our supporters, especially another member of the Anonymous family from Hamilton, New Jersey. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. That brings us down to $250 to go, y'all. We can do this. We have 13 minutes left? 13 minutes left to knock out $250 for Darker Than Blue here at WPFW. $5, $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month. Anything you can do, we would appreciate it. 202-588-9739 or 1-800-222-9739. Again, 1-800-222-9739 or 202-588-9739. Pledge to support Darker Than Blue and WPFW.
Absolutely. And you know what? Katia was talking about showing this special episode of Soul with Stevie Wonder. I mean, that sounds really exciting. And I got to say, Soul, and I think the documentary you're speaking of is called Mr. Soul, Jackie. About
Is it? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it can be found on streaming services. But I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it was like one of the coolest shows that ever existed. It was just a perfect combination of, so many things, like we discussed, like the music and the politics and the culture and all of that. He had on like the Last Poets, and he interviewed Kwame Ture and Louis Farrakhan. And, there's this video of James Baldwin talking to Nikki Giovanni. That comes from Soul and all of these sorts of things. And, having a Stevie Wonder on a platform like that, I can only imagine. And a funny thing about Stevie Wonder, and this is not a controversial opinion, right? We all understand very clearly the connections between, gospel and soul and R&B and blues and jazz and funk and all of that, right? We understand the cultural continuity throughout Black music. But I really feel like Stevie has a song, his song As,
yes,
even though it's a secular song, but that's a spiritual. You know what I'm saying?
I got a challenge that it's a secular song. It's not.
Like, so you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
because that song takes you in. I'm sorry.
Hey, for surely, like it really is a transcendent song. It's like he's singing about love, and a lot of people sing about love, but he's singing about something that like transcends how we even conceive of that. That's like a whole other. That's like a glorious thing that he's like talking about.
That's like that agape love that, this is what we say in the church, there's love, there's relational love, there's platonic love, and there's, Greek words that they always use for it, but there's agape love, that endless love of God. And I'm like, I listen to that song. It's like, you ain't talking about nobody and nothing but the universe, God, the ancestors, everything. Hey, there's a little update that I would like to share with y'all. Brigitte Rouzon, God bless you. And next week, I'm going to tell you the story of Brigitte Rouzon and why she and Plymouth Congregational Church are so important to me. But for today, Brigitte Rouzon, thank you so much from Washington, D.C. She is challenging all progressive Christians to donate. Those are her words, not mine. And
wow, I love it.
Yep. Brigitte Rouzon, she's challenging all progressive Christians to donate. So please do that, you all. I know you listen, 202-588-9739, 1-800-222-9739. The way I'm always talking about Jesus. I know you listen. I know you do. So, and also, Anonymous, thank you so much. Another member of the Anonymous family, this time from Washington, D.C., right here in Chocolate City. Always be Chocolate City in my heart, even though it's kind of becoming Swirl City, I suppose. Thank you so much, Anonymous from Washington, D.C. We are down to $140 to go in 6 minutes, y'all. Come on, progressive Christians. Come on, it's tithing time. It's offering time, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, this is the 21st century way to chase out the money changers. You gotta
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Think about being Sean with ideological whips instead of actual ones.
There we go. And it's so funny that you bring up that thing about like agape love. Like literally just today, I was listening to a recent sermon by my dad. People who don't know, my dad is a Baptist pastor back home. And he literally said that very thing. He was like, I'm not talking about eros love.
What it is?
I'm not talking about philos love. I'm talking about that agape love.
Agape love. Yeah, that's the same sermon I've heard my own day. And y'all got two preacher kids sitting up in here talking about anti-capitalism, anti-imperialism, and every once in a while a little Jesus. So Julius, thank you so much, Julius from Santa Barbara, California. Appreciate you, fam, so much. Thank you so much. We are down to $100 even, y'all. 5 minutes, $100, $2 a month, $5 a month, $7 a month, $10 a month, 15. We can knock this $100 out in this last 6 minutes. 202-588-9739 or 1-800-222-9739.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, Jackie, you talk about us as two preachers' kids, and some may roll their eyes at that, but I feel like that's actually an asset as an organizer because number one, the Black church is a training ground. In church, you learn how to sing, you learn how to play an instrument, you learn how to do public speaking, you learn how to do fundraising. It's like all of these things. I mean, look, we had, God rest her soul, a friend of the family, Miss Sarah Thomas. I've never seen a fundraiser like her. She could get that money out of those tight-fisted folks like no one I ever saw. If you have 10 people like her in an organization, financially, y'all straight.
But for real though, Sean, nobody can get anything out of tight-fisted church folks like church mamas. I don't care. And I don't know. Maybe it was his church mother voice. Maybe it's my church mother voice. But look at Craig. Look at Craig from Windsor Mill, Maryland, coming in, mopping up the extra. We've met our goal. No, let me correct that. You listeners have met our goal. We are so appreciative of you. Thank you so much for supporting Darker Than Blue. And trust me, we ain't gonna change. We ain't gonna never change. You can get the same serious anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist message from Sean and myself, plus a little bit of extra stuff, a little wrestling, a little country rap, a little horror music, a little horror movies, a few zombie movies. Yeah, you're gonna get all that from us. So we appreciate you.
Could I just interject here? And
yes,
there might be other folks that want to pledge. Go ahead and do it. Do it. Don't stop. They met the goal and you all are beautiful, but they deserve so much more. Sean, I mean, you know, people who are just so intelligent, so brilliant, well-versed, can go in so many directions and then still bring it back to liberation for all of us. So that is what you're pledging for. 800-222-9739. Keep the calls coming. Thanks to both of you for allowing me to sit in.
Thank you, Katia. And we got to give one more shout out. This is fantastic. Heather from Philmont, New York. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. We want to thank all of our supporters for taking part in our pledge drive today. And I think that's going to do it for today and this week here on Darker Than Blue on WPFW 89.3 FM, Pacifica Radio here in Washington, D.C. Please stay tuned for news and views with Garland Nixon, and we will see you next time. Peace.
All right, fam. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We went $120 over goal. That is fantastic. We are hoping for a repeat next week because we got to do this into next week. Appreciate you so much. It's been a busy week. I have to go to an event that the Cuban embassy is putting on. Cuba in Africa, they're screening a movie and they're having a discussion afterward. I got to be there. African Liberation Day in Baltimore tomorrow. So I got to come home, get enough rest, hop up in the morning, put the dog in the car because I think I'm taking him with me. I think maybe I'm going to see how he behaves. Drive up to Baltimore, African Liberation Day all day from 12 to 6, come home, pass out because this week has been really busy, but it's been really fulfilling. Not everything, but it's been a really busy week. It's been it's been a lot, but a little rest at the end and the engagement that we were able to have. We had our ALD teach-in on Wednesday, extremely well attended, an excellent teach-in that Baptiste and Paca put on. We'll be doing more of that soon. I've got more of that to plan. As you can see, I've got my notebook here with plans for the next 3 months, June, July, and August. So we got a lot to do. We've got a lot of very serious work to do. And I'm already tired, but it's going to get done. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you. No double feature tonight. I will see you at some point next week. And have a great long weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be good to each other and be good to yourselves. And as always, a luta continua. The struggle continues. But if we keep struggling, I promise, Victoria Acerta. Victory certain. Peace, y'all. Gotta run.